28, la 2 PM, la 2 PM le toca la otra tableta. Sí, no hay problema, gracias. ¿Por qué la experiencia? No sé, pero yo ya tiene la
Every 6 seconds, somewhere in the world, a child dies as a result of diarrheal disease. 5 million children die this way every year. Diarrhea and related malnutrition is the biggest killer of children under 5. Since most of them die not in hospital but at home, in many places it's a hidden disaster. Yet it needn't be so. The barrios of Bogota, shanty towns perched above the capital of Colombia, where the League of Red Cross and Red Crescent societies has one of its first Child Alive pilot projects. A community suspicious of outsiders, with few facilities, no proper sanitation or water supply. A place where disease can spread fast. A rough place for a child to grow up. The women do piecework at home to bring in a few pesos. There are plenty of mouths to feed, and the chances of their father finding regular employment are slim. Jesus Cano, 37, does what he can to help around the house. But the burden of bringing in some cash falls on his 31-year-old wife, Hilda.
Well, I work for a handkerchief factory. They pay me 6 pesos per day. I have to fetch them, starch them, iron them and pack them.
But what does she do about obtaining water?
Well, as far as the water is concerned, we came along and broke open the mains and laid it on illegally. We were given the socket and the pipes and a bit of tubing. Everyone just comes along and fixes on his own bit of tubing, as much as he needs, and connects up the water from the mains. It's stolen, of course, but it does come from the mains.
And what does Hilda do about lighting?
When we arrived here, we laid on the light illegally, too. Everyone bought a yard or so of cable and just laid on the light.
By that light, family life is lived. As Hilda irons, the 2-year-old twins are put on their potties, feeding bottles at their feet. The main room is kitchen, toilet and bedroom, all in one. As the younger children begin to bed down for the night, their big sister Angelica, who's 12, has the job of emptying the potties. She hasn't far to go. In the barrios of Bogota, such matters as sewage disposal were taken care of when the family moved in.
Well, the sewage is dumped into the pipes here below San Martin. We all got together and broke it open and put in one pipe after another. Everyone got his own drain. Some folk got together and put in a common sewer. Others didn't. They went it alone. I put mine in independent-like.
Vaya pues, vaya reinita, vaya. Vaya pues a la mitad. Vaya usted también, ¿parece? Camiseta para las niñas ahorita.
No one can accuse the Canos, father, mother or Angelica, of not trying. They do care. With water and sewage, they want to do the best for their family. Yet it's not difficult to see why the children in this household are often sick. Angelica shakes her hands all over the area in which the food is prepared. She begins to clean out the baby's potties at the very sink where her father rinses out their bottles. It's the same water which is used for cooking and drinking. Canos may believe they have main sewage, but immediately outside their house, the drain is broken. The reality is that it's spreading contamination throughout the neighborhood. The sewage system is broken because the hillside on which the Canos and their neighbors squat is actually on the move.
The landslide we had was due to seepage from the pipes. Defective pipes let everything seep into the earth. It's pretty soft soil, and so it's had to be filled in with rubbish. It's not known whether this land is suitable for building or not. You'd have to ask surveyors whether it could be built on or not.
In such conditions, it's not surprising illness is common. These children of the barrios are fortunate. They've survived repeated attacks of diarrhea without too many ill effects. But in this clinic, up to half the children are here because of diarrhea problems. Some are seriously dehydrated, their eyes sunk in an old man's face. They cry without tears. Their skin has lost its elasticity and lies in folds. The fontanelle or soft spot on their skulls is sunken too. They suffer from thirst. Their mouths are dry. They may have lost up to 15% of their body weight. Without expert attention, they'd probably die. Yet, this does not need to happen. Today, young workers from the Red Cross and Red Crescent are carrying a message of hope to parents whose children are threatened by diarrhea. In association with UNICEF, the World Health Organization, and national health authorities, the Child Alive program of the League of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies is pledged to improve the management of diarrhea at every level of healthcare, starting in the home. They offer practical, inexpensive methods of stopping babies dying from diarrhea, plus sound advice on the associated nutritional issues, and in particular, the importance of breastfeeding and good weaning practices.
Dándole más tiempo de un seno y luego del otro, ¿ya? Así te van a salir bastante cantidad de leche.
The Child Alive program is community-based and simple. It helps people help themselves. It's firmly rooted in a trust which links the Red Cross and the communities it serves everywhere.
Ah, bueno, no van a hacer cosas raras, ¿no?
No, porque nosotros... Hasta luego, que les vaya muy bonito. ¿Cómo le va? Ah, yo sé que conseguimos que sabe para eso. Yo quedé y que usted iba a dejar el cigarrillo. Yo no quedé con usted. ¿Qué Olga? ¿Cómo le va?
In this barrio of Tintelito on the outskirts of Bogota, the Red Cross is fighting back against the scourge of diarrhea. Through the Child Alive program, the whole community of 1,600 people is learning how to treat the illness properly. The Colombian Red Cross has operated a clinic here for some years, but their Child Alive team is new, in the very early stages of the project.
Atención, se informa a la comunidad que acaban de llegar la comisión de la Cruz Roja que va a llevar a cabo el programa de salud acá en nuestro barrio. De su participación depende...
The first step in the program is to bring the people of Tintelito together to get them to talk about their children's health. It's only through such dialogue that the team can win the trust of the community and build up a relationship. Later, there'll be a survey of every household.
De ustedes depende todo lo que se lleve a cabo acá en este barrio. Sin su participación no se puede llevar a cabo nada.
Time and time again, it's stressed, as they know from past experience, that only the people themselves can get things done in their barrio.
¿Qué otra cosa nos sugieren ustedes que podemos hacer nosotros con ustedes?
How can the Child Alive team help them with their children's health problems?
Just look at the rubbish around here. It's poisoning the place. It's causing a lot of illness among the kids.
And how can Child Alive help?
Well, for a start, someone has to talk to the company that's supposed to collect the rubbish. They make us pay for it, but you never see one of their carts around here. We've got to do it ourselves.
¿Qué otra cosa les parece?
From general complaints, the team steers the discussion towards health. The people of Tintelito, after all, have to identify their own problems.
Take my case. My little boy was very ill, see? He had some sort of malnutrition because he was very pale and weak. As weak could be. He had a high temperature and no appetite at all, but he hadn't any diarrhea.
One thing I'd like to know about malnutrition. How do you know your children are undernourished?
It depends a lot on what they get to eat. I'm not able to buy them an egg or a bit of meat. If we haven't any money, the child gets undernourished. When all he gets is sugar, water or broth, then he gets very undernourished.
What questions have we got to ask about diarrhea?
The symptoms of diarrhea? Well, first of all, how do you describe it? The child gets dark circles round his eyes. He goes all pale. He's out of sorts. He doesn't play or anything. And then they start to get a high temperature. 3 or 4 or 5 times a day. That's when you know a child's got diarrhea. When he's got all these bowel movements, 5 or 6 or 7 times a day, that's when you know the child's ill with diarrhea.
Such meetings are important for the Child Alive team. It's a learning process for everyone. Learning not just what questions to ask, but how to ask them. At the headquarters of the Colombian Red Cross, the next steps are discussed between Child Alive staff from the National Society and the Health Co-ordinator for the program from Geneva. Should they analyze, for example, what's spent on rent and food?
No, this isn't an indicator that's much use to us in this case, because people don't give a true picture. It's just not possible to get the full facts with sufficient accuracy.
Surveys, this means that the reliability is low for this question.
An indicator would be the occupation, the job, what the head of the family does, and others who are employed. This would give us an indirect indicator of the income of the family, which is more or less complete.
An occupation for husband and occupation for wife. But let me ask another question. Why do we want to know socioeconomic status? Yesterday when we discussed this a little bit, we agreed socioeconomic indicator is useful because it relates to 2 things. The incidence of diarrhea and the chance of the treatment program, because for treatment they have to take a taxi to a hospital, they have to pay money for treatment, and maybe the poor people cannot do that.
Having agreed the next steps with the League Coordinator, the Colombian Child Alive team gets back to the people.
Tell me something. Where do the children go when they've got diarrhea? Do they use a pot or something else? Or do they go to the lavatory over there?
They use a pot. Over there, see?
When they've got diarrhea, what's the first thing you do?
I give them broth and some juice, nothing else. And if I see they've got diarrhea badly, I take them to the health center.
How far away is the nearest health center?
Well, it's about 4 kilometers, 50 blocks away.
You go there on foot?
Yes, on foot.
Not by car?
No, sir. Cars aren't able to get in here.
What food do you usually give your children?
The food I give them usually is potatoes and rice. It's the best I can do. And a bit of soup. I don't make meat for them, though, but they can get kidney beans and vegetables. Everything you can find in the market except meat. And when one of them's got diarrhea, I give them broth with a bit of meat. Just a little bit of meat, which I mash in well with some garlic, to give them some relief if they've got bad stomach pains. I think they're full of worms or something.
Have you had any deaths in your family from diarrhea?
No, sir, never.
Have there been any deaths from diarrhea among people living near you?
Yes, a girl died from diarrhea just down from here.
Solely from diarrhea?
Yes, just from diarrhea. And when they took her away, it was already too late. All the children in this barrio always suffer from diarrhea. Today there are no flies because it's raining, but some days you can't even open your mouth for them.
Tell me, what does dehydration mean to you?
Well, for me, dehydration means the children don't have the strength to stand up. They can't raise a finger. Everything is a burden to them. They don't move, and they always keep their heads in the same place.
Getting people to talk and think about the problem is the first step. All but 3 of Tintalito's households have now taken part in a survey. The community has discussed the results and, with Red Cross help, will tackle the problem. Diarrhea is not just an urban problem. In vast rural areas, it's also, with associated malnutrition, the biggest killer of children under 5. Here in Honduras, worried mothers go to considerable trouble and expense to try and have their sick children made better. Only they go to the traditional healer, or curandera.
Tiene bien caída la mollera.
Child Alive must channel the care these parents have for their children into simple, effective treatment, like oral rehydration therapy. But first, it must win the confidence of the people. After all, most of the young mothers were themselves sprayed with the curandera's mixture of alcohol and herbs when they were babies. So Child Alive doctors have, very gently, to explore why mothers bring their children to the curandera.
The healer says she's got the evil eye. She's also cutting teeth. When she cuts a tooth, she gets diarrhea and fever. We've a lot of trust in the lady.
You've confidence in her?
Yes, a lot.
This is important. Have your family always gone to her?
Yes, the family came to her pretty often.
And your mother used the same type of medicine?
Yes, she did.
So your whole family uses this type of medicine?
Yes, we all come here. If we've a sick child, we come here.
Do you come here first or go to the medical center?
We go to the center. If the center's medicine works, we don't come here. When it doesn't, we come here. Sometimes at the center they don't understand. Well, about the evil eye. They can give you any medicines they want at the center. But the healer says that they won't work because they're not treating what's wrong. As for believing in the evil eye, well, doctors don't believe in it.
Some of the old beliefs have been carried from the Honduran countryside into the barrios around Tegucigalpa. But here, at La Laguna, the Red Cross has built up a good relationship with the community over the years. One of their nurses, Ana Lucia Jaime, is well known from her daily rounds.
How's he doing?
He's still got a fever.
Oh, well, we better take it.
Yeah, still got a fever. He could do with an injection.
Mire que no den el valor de ponerle porque quiebra la aguja.
Quiebra la aguja, no la quiebra. Ay, mi amor, abre la boca.
Come on now, open your mouth.
Cierra la boquita.
Sí, allá lloraba. Viera qué relajo el que hacía allá, en el centro.
Y la diarrea.
And the diarrhea, how's it doing?
The diarrhea's a bit less. It's clearing up.
You've still got the medicine?
I've a little bit, less than half a bottle.
I'll leave you a bit more then. His temperature's gone down.
You know, his stools are a bit greenish, quite greenish. No, they're always a bit like that, only now they're more green.
Last year, 1/2 of the children who died at La Laguna died as a result of diarrhea. This is known because Child Alive helped the community do a survey of the 800 people who live there. The survey showed that the children died at home and at night when the local dispensary was closed. The parents couldn't get their child to a dispensary or a hospital, and they didn't know what to do themselves. Through Red Cross Action and Child Alive, they'll now begin to learn about simple, effective remedies which they can use themselves.
Mi nombre es Ana Lucía Jaime. Soy la enfermera del...
My name is Ana Lucia Jaime. I'm a nurse at the Lazarus dispensary. I'm now visiting a house in the Laguna community, visiting children who can't go to the dispensary. For example, this little girl. She's had dermatitis from birth. We also have 2 other little girls with diarrhea. One is 1 year old and the other is 3. It seems they always have diarrhea. The most common diseases in this community are diarrhea, flu, dermatitis, and they also have arthritis, parasites, and all kinds of diseases, really.
But the big killer is diarrhea. Child Alive has been set up by the League of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies to help parents understand that once a child becomes dehydrated, the only effective treatment is to replace the fluids and salts which have been lost. This can be done intravenously as here, but it requires special equipment and well-trained personnel. It can be painful for the child and expensive. Also, such facilities are available for only a tiny fraction of the children who suffer from dehydration. Another and better method of replacing lost fluids and salts is oral rehydration, giving the child a special solution to drink. It's made of water, sugar, and mineral salts. It's an effective and inexpensive treatment that can be used in all but the most serious cases. In communities like these, children's lives can be saved by oral rehydration therapy, or ORT as it's known. Mothers can make the solution in their own homes. Starting ORT early can prevent or correct dehydration, keep the child from falling seriously ill, and limit nutritional damage. It's a simple Child Alive lesson given by Ana Lucia Jaime. First, measure a liter of water using locally available soft drink bottles.
Vamos a tomar la medida para hacer 1 litro. Ahora lo vamos a llevar a ebullición.
The water should ideally be boiled and cooled. But if boiling is not possible, the cleanest available water should be used. The important thing is to get the treatment started as quickly as possible. The beauty of the Child Alive program is that it utilizes skills which mothers use every day in their own homes. All over the world, Red Cross and Red Crescent workers, volunteers and professionals are teaching people to make oral rehydration solutions adapted to local conditions.
Porque el litrosol no se puede hervir junto con el agua.
Sí, está bien.
Ahora abierta, apague la estufa.
Careful face-to-face instruction is often necessary. An ideal job for the Red Cross with its community links. The mother collects the package of rehydration salts, slits it open,
Hoy lo he hecho ahí.
and pours the contents into the pre-boiled water. Once stirred, the solution is poured into a cup. The solution is given to the child with a cup and spoon, small amounts at a time, but frequently. The main thing is to make sure that the volume of liquid lost through dehydration is replaced. People are also learning through Child Alive how important it is to keep feeding a child during diarrhea. An idea contrary to traditional practice, perhaps, but such feeding minimizes the ill effects on the child's growth and development. And mother's milk is best. Breastfeeding reduces the number and severity of diarrhea cases and provides the ideal nourishment before, during, and after the illness. Yet, diarrhea kills 5 million children every year. Through its Child Alive program, the League of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies offers parents everywhere the hope of happy, healthy children.
Para Ruby, con mucho cariño.